Good morning and welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church. My name's Diane Alcorn and I am the Membership and Engagement Coordinator here. If this is your first time visiting with us, welcome. We're glad you took the time to join us here. If you'd like more information about our church and our worship community, please feel free and send me an email. In the meantime, again, welcome. We're so glad you took the time to join us.
Good morning, and welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church, a spiritual community whose hope is audacious and whose vision is for a more equitable and just world for all. I'm Judy Montgomery, proud to serve as worship associate this morning. Joining me today are David Blazer, music director, Brian Gardner, new worship associate, Christine Salante, Bob Beamer, and Michael Hockman, who are our wonderful tech folks making this live stream possible. A very special welcome to our guest speaker this morning, Rabbi David Horowitz. I met him about 20 years ago when I was active with GLSEN Northeast Ohio, that is, Gay Lesbian Straight Education Network. One of the awards we gave to straight allies went to Rabbi Horowitz. He is the Rabbi Emeritus of Temple Israel in Akron, Ohio. In the past, he has taught courses at the college level of philosophy and theology and courses in the Ethnic Studies Department of Kent State University. Rabbi Horowitz is a past president of PFLAG Akron and PFLAG National. PFLAG is a support organization for parents and friends of lesbians and gays. He has served on the boards of numerous community and religious organizations. He was on the panel at President Clinton's first town meeting on race relations. Rabbi Horowitz was the topic of a chapter entitled "Every Day the Rabbi Helps Gays" in Dan Woog's book called Friends and Family: True Stories of Gay America's Straight Allies. Rabbi Horowitz has been married to Toby for 58 years, and they have 2 children, daughter Wendy, married to her life partner, a transgender man, Julian, son Daniel, and 3 grandchildren. He lectures widely on issues dealing with gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender concerns, the challenge of the radical right, as well as a variety of Judaic subjects. He speaks to academic institutions, religious institutions, and corporations throughout the United States and in other countries as well. A warm West Shore welcome to you, Rabbi. Together, we are pleased to invite you into this space, which is connecting people in Cleveland and beyond to our welcoming community. Often the world is not so welcoming. Often the values of the world are neither loving nor just. So may this worship hour be one where our souls are fed by a wisdom and a passion that reminds us that life doesn't have to be that way, that there exists a larger love in every human heart, urging us on to what is better. Let this larger love move in our midst today, and may we be changed by it. A special welcome to you if you're a newcomer to our community. Gay or straight, cisgender or transgender, whatever your race or ethnicity, you are welcome. Our West Shore regulars would love to greet you and will do that if you indicate on the Facebook chat that you are new or relatively new. If you happen to have any questions and would like to chat with a live person, Diane Alcorn, West Shore's Member and Engagement Coordinator, would love to reach out to you. Diane's email address is being added to the chat as we speak. Once again, welcome to this new day. Every week, we light our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. It is a beautiful reminder that no matter how many jarring events might happen over the course of the week, the gathered community that is West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church is a source of stability and meaning we can depend upon. Albert Schweitzer said, "At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us." Please say with me our words, originally inspired by Maya Angelou. This is our chalice. In many separate rooms, we light one flame, flame of passion, flame of compassion, flame of humor, flame of style. We do not accept merely surviving. Let our mission be to thrive.
Together in spirit, we are one. Let us witness to the unity of our spirit by saying together our unison affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio su ley. Este es nuestro magnífico convenio, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
So may it be. And now we turn to our time of greeting. We greet each other in the midst of our joys and struggles, some of which are personal and others of which are public. Our thoughts go to those throughout much of the Western United States and Canada that are dealing with extreme heat and severe drought conditions, as well as those in the southern and eastern United States that have been dealing with too much water in the form of post-tropical cyclone Elsa. We also send our concern to the people of Haiti, who are currently living under martial law and massive upheaval due to the assassination of their president. Let us hold in our hearts and minds the Indigenous peoples of Canada as they continue pursuing justice for the now undeniable deep traumas of the past. And now a little closer to home, member and dear friend Marcia Perrins is now recovering at home and would enjoy receiving cards. She sustained a brain injury in a fall several weeks ago. Let each of us now say the names of people whom we are holding in our personal thoughts and prayers this morning, people in the West Shore community and people beyond. Wherever you happen to be, say these names out loud into the space of your room as if the act of just saying the name is like a prayer, which it is. You may even type the name into the Facebook chat if you like. and I will pause for a moment as we do this. This has been our greeting time when we are called out of the ordinary world of our daily life and into a special time of renewal and vitality and remembering who we really are. May this be a holy place where we are blessed with love and amazing grace.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
As I considered our topic of justice for my reflection, I thought it might be helpful to someone out there for me to share some of the pivotal moments of my journey towards understanding my need for justice in the world. And for some of you, I know all of these things are common knowledge. As a young woman, I bought into the American dream idea that anyone could be anything they wanted to be. And when I heard that old adage, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, they can too, that sort of made sense to me. As life went on, I started to feel like there was something wrong with that kind of thinking, but I didn't know yet what was wrong with it. Then came the day my then husband said to me with disgust in his voice, "You always have to speak up for the underdog." Well, fortunately, I'd grown enough to say, "Well, yeah," and realize he'd given me a compliment. During my early years as an elementary school librarian, I subscribed to Teaching Tolerance magazine for my teachers. It wasn't really until I came out as a lesbian that I understood that tolerance is not a goal. That implies there's something wrong with whatever the difference is. And then it seemed there was a cultural shift to acceptance. Well, that was better, but still, it implies there's something wrong that needs to be accepted. I appreciate that here at West Shore, I'm able to just be authentic and just be included for who I am. During those school years, every fall brought two events that left me uncomfortable. October brought the annual Columbus Day celebration. Pull out the Christopher Columbus books. I had the Teaching Tolerance magazine to provide another point of view for my teachers, but I didn't really get it myself enough to really push the magazine. Then came Thanksgiving and the first grade feast. The children were dressed up as pilgrims and Indians with their one feather in the band around their head. I was not then who I am now, so I didn't speak up to ask, did the tribe that was there in Massachusetts really wear clothing or feathers like that? Another experience during my teaching career that really impacted me was a book study of A Framework for Understanding Poverty by Ruby Payne. There were tests in the book that pointed out to me how middle class I am. Some of my areas of ignorance are, I don't have the knowledge to get someone out of jail, or the ability to move my whole household in half a day. On the other hand, I also don't have any friends with a private jet who could take me to dinner in Paris. I do have a financial planner, and I know how to get a loan for a car. Before that book, I hadn't really understood the impact of class and economic inequity. When I got to visit South Africa in 2013, I was excited for many reasons, but one was I thought I'd get to see a country with the answers about ending racism. Apartheid had ended and Nelson Mandela was out of prison. We were told there were 3 groups of people in South Africa: white people, black people, and colored people, who are people of mixed race. We got to visit a township. I was rocked to the core to see the extreme poverty of the black people in that township. We visited a woman of mixed race in her home for lunch, and we were told we could ask any questions we wanted to ask. When we asked her questions about race and what life had been like for her under apartheid, she said, "Oh, we don't like to think about that." Whoa, disturbing. Then in 2014, when I joined West Shore, I was fortunate to attend the first Beloved Conversations course. It rocked my world as I understood it. For the first time, I heard the word microaggressions. I learned that some of my privilege comes from the fact that my white father was able to take advantage of the GI Bill and go to college to earn a degree. I was humbled, but also angry at the unfairness and inequity of it. I'd been able to be in an ignorant bubble for so many years. Currently, I'm not as involved as I was in the justice work that happens here at West Shore. I'm so grateful that so many of our beloved community members are doing the work, and I know the door is open when I'm ready to be involved again. In the meantime, my need for justice, fairness, inclusion, connectedness play out on a daily basis as I look at people in my environment and I know there is a story there. That idea, choose kindness because you never know what others are dealing with. I feel so aware that when we cross someone's path, we don't know what they've gone through or what they're going through right now. We don't know when we might make their day with just a smile to acknowledge their existence.
One of the first memories that I have of West Shore was about 6 years ago. What initially captured the attention of my wife Margaret and I was seeing the large Marriage Equality Now banner. Neither of us for probably a decade at least had gone to a church for something other than a wedding. But we decided that a church willing to show their support so strongly for marriage equality would be worth looking into. Unfortunately, not everyone felt the same way that we did about that banner. At one point, the banner was cut down and removed by someone opposed to its message. Margaret and I were present during the service when this news was told to the congregation, and immediately during that service, funds were raised to purchase a new banner. We were happy to give at that moment, and it was actually the first time that we had given a gift to West Shore. And a happy ending to that story, as we learned, I think, a week later, that the printer had decided to donate the new banner to West Shore free of charge. And so even though our gift was not ultimately needed for the banner, witnessing people coming together for justice and refusing to back down showed us that this is a community, a church willing to engage with the world and help change lives. And we were happy and continue to be happy to help see that work move forward. I wanted to thank all of you for your financial support that makes so much of the work at West Shore possible. If you would like to give a special one-time gift, you can do so now, texting the number currently displayed or through Realm. Thank you again for your generosity. And now, please enjoy David Blazer playing Nocturne by Edvard Grieg.
As we enter this time of meditation, I'd like to begin with a disclaimer. Twice I have been privileged enough to be able to be the keynote speaker at the Summer Institute of the Tri-States UU Church. I realized that one session after my presentation and during the talkback session, somebody sneezed in the room. I turned and just kind of automatically said, "God bless you," and then realized where I was and had to turn and say, "If that doesn't offend you." My language is God language, and you will hear some of that language in the meditation. For those whom God is an important presence, please accept it. For those who find a different path toward that spirituality, please understand that that's inclusive in what I say. My meditation this morning is taken from the prayer book Mishkan Tefillah, the Tabernacle of Prayer, the prayer book used in our congregation in Akron. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. Prayer invites God's presence to suffice our spirits, God's will to pervade our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor amend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. I ask now that perhaps you close your eyes and think of the different ways that we can be indeed the hands of God. For we are indeed what God needs to make this world a better place. I just want you to know that I've taken off my watch to give you hope that this sermon will somewhere along the way end. Last week, most of us joined together to celebrate the 4th of July, that celebration of our nation's independence from Britain. We looked at the words of the Declaration of Independence: all men are created equal. And we realized that that was more or less exactly what it meant. All men were created equal, not necessarily women, but all men were created equal. But almost all men were created equal, because those engulfed in slavery were indeed not equal at all. Some stood up, placed their hand over their heart or saluted, and recited the words of the Pledge of Allegiance: with liberty and justice for all. For most, not necessarily for all. Liberty, not everybody was enjoying liberty, and justice was not yet fully achieved. In our services in the synagogue, we read a section of the Torah scrolls, the first 5 books in the Bible, and we call it the Parasha HaShavua, the section of the week. And this Sabbath, we are going to read from the beginning of Deuteronomy, where Moses tells God, "Hey, I need help. These people are a stiff-necked people. I'm having a terrible time controlling things. I need help." And God says, "Okay, I'll give you help. But it won't be necessarily spiritual help, and it won't be necessarily miraculous help. I will give you the help you needed by appointing different people among the children of Israel to help with your task. And among those to be designated were to be magistrates, judges, rendering impartial judgment in disputes among the children of Israel as they wandered in the desert. Now a little bit of a Hebrew lesson. The word for justice in Hebrew is tzedek. It would later be found in Deuteronomy by the famous phrase, tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. A righteous person in Hebrew is called a tzaddik. A tzaddik is one who is just and who can reach out and make themselves a part of a community to make things better. And charity in Hebrew is called tzedakah. Tzedakah is from that same root of righteousness, of charity. Now I must tell you, I am grateful this morning that your offering came before my sermon, so I didn't have to worry about screwing things up for this church. Having said that, however, you still have time to text some more shekels to the church, adding to what you've already given, so perhaps one day I may get invited back here. But that word tzedakah, that word for charity, is so much more than simply sending in a pledge. There's an interesting juxtaposition of terms here. To give charity is not just something that feels good. In Jewish tradition, giving charity is a mitzvah. It is a commandment. It is something we must do that comes from our teachings and from God. It is fulfilling a moral and spiritual significant act to bring to life that which fills us with charity, with justice, with peace. The rabbis later took and put all this together and taught that tzedakah was, frankly, more than just giving of money, but tzedakah was righting communal wrongs. And there's no shortage of communal wrongs in our modern day plagues. We have poverty. Diane talked of the poverty she witnessed when she went to South Africa. We have poverty all around us. Just walk through our cities. Just walk on our streets. See the people who are homeless. See the people who are hungry. See the people who are experiencing food insecurity, a new whole term that we've coined to say that they may be starving, that they may be lacking that which they need to even feed themselves and their families. Poverty is all about us, but we tend to turn our heads. We tend to close our eyes. We pretend we don't see that poverty is ravaging a whole section of our people. Another communal wrong, health care. Some of us take that for granted. For others, it's a dream. Health care comes to those who have and is often denied to those who have not. Health care is a basic right, but not necessarily a right in our country. Health care is something that's universally necessary, but in our country, health care does not come from the community as a whole to all who need it, but rather for all who can afford insurance, for all that can pay, for all that live close by to proper care. Violence, we read about that a lot in the newspaper these days. I don't know about what happens in Rocky River, But I've got to tell you that every single day in that paper we call the Akron Beacon Journal, which is mostly local news, every day I read of shootings, of killings, of violence, of violent crime that's happening in our city. Every day I can hear from my apartment window gunshots that happen in our community. Every day we deal with violence, and somehow we think that just increasing our law enforcement will make a difference in the world, without trying to even address what the cause of that violence may be. War. My God, war has been with us forever. We keep talking about the quest for peace, but peace has so far, peace has so far eluded us. We talk about the need of bringing people together, and yet we seem to separate them into various groups and nations. We have a United Nations that was formed to keep war from happening. And so far, that's only been a place to talk about peace and not make it a reality. Another plague is famine, even more than it ever has been before. Because in this world of climate change, of climate emergencies, and I know there are people out there who think that's a hoax, people out there that think that there is no need to worry about a change in our climate. Famine is part of that change. Famine has brought a shortage of food throughout the world. Even in the United States, there are places that are grocery deserts where people cannot get proper food, cannot eat, and because of famine, make it more difficult and more expensive. There was an old song, I think, sung by the Kingston Trio many years ago. They're rioting in Africa, they're starving in Spain. There's hurricanes in Florida and Texas needs rain. The whole world is festering with unhappy souls. The French hate the Germans hate the Poles. The Poles hate the Yugoslavs, South Africans hate the Dutch, and I don't like anybody very much. And that seems to be what's happening in our world. It's going to be 140 degrees this weekend in the desert areas out west. Where it's less warm, it's going to be 110, 120 degrees. The land is becoming parched. Fires are already burning in the west and will continue to do so as there's a lack of rain, as there's dryness, as there's tinder, as there are the conditions to bring destruction to houses, homes, lives, and precious forests. And we don't think about the forests. Those forests that give us oxygen, that absorb rainwater that will not getting there, are being destroyed. And we sometimes deny it's a problem. There's a widening gulf of ideologies. I don't have to tell you that. You can pick up the paper, you can turn on the television, you can hear the arguments out there. There are some who believe in science and some who believe that science is a hoax. There are some who believe that everything is phenomenal in the U.S. if only we can strengthen our police and our military. And there are others who frankly think that we should, quote, defund the police. Extremities at both sides make us unable to listen, unable to judge, unable to sometimes come to decisions of our own, as we find ourselves engulfed in classes and engulfed in organizations that we know are correct and everybody else is wrong. And hatred, and hatred, and hatred. How often do I sit and watch television and feel, even within myself, a hatred, a despising of that which I am seeing on the screen, a hatred of people whose ideology is different than my own, a hatred for those who are on the right, and for those on the right, a hatred for those on the left. Hatred is part and parcel of our society today. And my God, it is destroying us from in, and it's destroying us from outside. There are individuals that are trying to help with all those plagues. There are individuals who are trying to make things better. There are individuals who are trying to bring together our nation and the world as a whole. There are people who are looking for shalom. Shalom in Hebrew is not just the absence of war. It's not just something that we strive for in terms of turning away militaries from our midst. Shalom is a wholeness. It's a completeness. It's a bringing together of all the shards that are broken in our lives and in our world. We talk in Hebrew of tikkun olam, of repairing a world that is broken, a world that was not broken from on high, but a world that we broke ourselves. And in that world, in that broken world, we can pray that it come back together, but then prayer does not bring water to parched fields or mend a broken bridge or build a ruined city. Prayer is not that which can put the different pieces of the world together, but we are the hands of God. We have to find a way to bring tzedek, justice, tzedakah, righteous giving, and become tzaddikim, become righteous individuals. And if we don't do that, we will continue to hear the shattering of the world around us, a world that's filled with injustice. And so, like Moses, those who are trying to make things better need help. It's too much for one person to do. It's even too much for one small group to do. It requires us, one person at a time, to join in the effort. It means to take communal responsibility, not they caused it or they caused it, but we caused it. And we must take that responsibility. We are responsible for racism. Not that all of us are racists, but we are responsible for racism because racism is something that is built into our social structure, and we must take that communal responsibility. We must not look and say he did it and they did it, but we did it, and we must make it better. It takes a village, it takes a society, it takes a wholeness. It takes all of us to work to bring justice to the world. It takes a government that we are a part of. It takes a government that we support. It takes a government that can provide things that, as individuals, as generous as we may be, as much as we give to charity, we cannot we cannot solve the healthcare crisis. We cannot solve the poverty alone by giving little gifts of charity. We cannot solve the various plagues that are about us that require the government's help. And it also takes a multiplicity of governments. Governments around the world that are willing to help one another and make this world a more comfortable and better place. It requires that we demand it all. It takes all of our efforts to effect change. It can be done. I would say it must be done, but that's not true. We can let things continue to disintegrate. We can let things fall apart at the seams. We can let the cry for justice, justice you shall pursue, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, fall on deaf ears. We can do that. Or we can come together to make it whole, to make it shalom. Now, I've spent a lot of time with Unitarian Universalist folks, and I have a deep, deep respect for all of you. Indeed, I know that in many ways I'm talking to the choir here this morning. Nothing I'm saying for most of you is going to be shocking or something you would sit there and shake your heads about, or something you would say, yes, we have the responsibility to engage. I understand that. I realize that. But a choir, no matter how good that choir may be, no matter how many wonderful voices, how many musicians, how good the music, that choir is useless unless it sings, unless it raises its voice, unless it shout aloud the words of healing, of peace, of justice, justice for all human beings, men and women, boys and girls, every race, every sexual orientation, every gender identity. The choir must sing, or the world will remain broken. And so now, I ask that you join together in singing hymn 131. I'm used to Psalms. Love will guide us.
Ride us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Now bring your chalice close to extinguish it as we extinguish the chalice here. We extinguish our flames, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again.
Remember, coffee hour, which starts at 11:30, maybe a little earlier today. We thank you, Ann Abramovich, for hosting today. I will see you at the sermon chat at 12:30 on Zoom. And now I pray. O Spirit that gives us strength, O Spirit that gives us hope, O Spirit that gives us joy, O Spirit that gives us peace, O Spirit that brings justice into the world, may we recognize that the justice that you have provided for us is justice that languishes on the vines unless we're able to make it whole. to make it happen. And so, Spirit, some say the word God, others say the Spirit within us. O Spirit, O God, give us the strength, give us the hope, give us the direction. And let us heed those words, that we may make the world better than we found it. And so may it be. See you next week at West Shore. Until then, love and courage and cheer to all.